Hello, everyone. Welcome to the TubeBuddy Chaos stream. I say chaos because if you see the group of shenanigans that we're going to have tonight, we are going to have a lot. So we are going to be focusing on what's more important, to focus on the viewer or the algorithm. This is something that a lot of people ask about. So the first question is going to be right off the back with the value. What do you believe people should focus on, the viewer or the algorithm? We're going to go ahead and start with you, Rob, and it's a panel. So the way this is going to work, folks, is we are going to pass it one at a time down the line. If someone holds it too long, we're just going to unplug the mic. No, I'm just kidding. We're just going to take it back through whatever means necessary. So, Rob, why don't you go ahead and start us off with what do you think is more important to focus on, the viewer or the algorithm?
It's a good question. I would focus on the viewer, just serving content that delivers value. I create a lot of tutorial videos, so it's all about the viewer and what they want to learn.
That's what I was going to say. You know, by studying the viewer, I think you are studying the algorithm, right? In a sense, the algorithm is artificial intelligence, and by studying actual intelligence, you're gonna find out what the algorithm is looking for you to do. So pay attention to who your viewer is, learn them, know them, watch other videos that are serving the same viewer, and I think you'll do really well.
Yes.
That's a clap from Nick Nimmin, everyone.
I kind of think that we need our next question because I think it's been thoroughly answered.
All right.
All right, here we go.
Right.
So one of the things to think. Hey, quiet on the set.
All right.
One of the things to think about is if you really think about the YouTube algorithm is a great place to start by understanding how both the audience values videos, how the audience engages with videos, and then thinking about how the YouTube algorithm processes that information will allow you to move forward and get far better results. And the way I like to think about it is the audience really provides the fuel for the algorithm, likes, engagements, comments, things like average view duration, audience retention. I forgot to mention, I might break out in a rap, but for me, that's how I really like to think about it, is that the algorithm is really the decipher, but the audience provides the feedback loop and whatnot. So obviously, you know, everyone covered it really well. We have to focus on the viewer, but it makes a lot of sense to also think about the algorithm and how it's processing the data. Data.
Pass it to Desiree.
I think that it's also important. You can't really have one without the other. It's sort of like the chicken and the egg, which comes first. You can't have without the algorithm. You don't have people, and without people watching you, the algorithm doesn't care. So it's finding that perfect balance between bringing it all together and always paying attention to it. And it's one of those things that we've been really learning here at the conference that we're at, which is Social Media Marketing World, is that you have to find that balance and figure out how much of it is your stories and then how much of it is your people and the algorithm. So I think that it's always really said, but you have to know that you need both.
Yeah, and I think finding the balance between the two is what all good YouTubers tend to try to do.
Can I retort?
Ooh,
Sorry, you
we
know,
gotta retort.
I want to live what I believe. I want to say what's up to Yaki Snacky Dog. What's up, bro? Good to see you. Wendell Live logging in. Yasir Khan, Guido Gaming, Le Chat Photographe. It's good to see you guys out there. And here's what I'm saying. Right now, I'm speaking to you, the viewer, and I want you to know you're appreciated here, right? Like, It's good to have you here. We have no stream without you.
We don't.
And that's why I believe, you know, the viewer comes first. And by acknowledging you, you may comment more, stay longer, and help me to trigger the algorithm. So I just had to say it, folks. I just had to put it out.
I would drop the mic, but I don't want to get, no microphone audio. So we're getting more questions. And so just to kind of recap what was said, you got to really focus on both. The audience is what is driving the algorithm. The algorithm follows that audience. So when you're creating, you need to think about your audience first and foremost. A lot of creators tend just to create and hope to find an audience later. But if you come in with the idea of who your ideal audience is, there's a lot of power there. So the next question is, how did you personally find your ideal audience? What was your kind of creation process into finding your ideal audience?
I just started answering questions and just really I create a lot of LinkedIn tutorial content on YouTube. So going into LinkedIn, sharing my videos, and then looking at the comments, and then just answering those questions at scale on YouTube.
I love it when people say at scale.
I know, right?
Like, it's one of those.
It makes me feel smarter.
It's like AMSMR. videos. Like I get that tingly feeling on my neck. Did I nail that one? What was the question?
So, how did you find your ideal audience?
So amazing on video?
There's the obvious answer, you know, divine
answer.
right. The question one more time.
How did you find your ideal
You know,
audience?
let me get real. Like I'm still finding my core audience. You know, I built my channel to fuel my business.
Yeah.
And so I put videos out that I knew that I could send to business owners when I was out tracking on the street, because I would go door to door and I would say, hey, I can make video for you, you know, today. And, oh, you want to learn more about me? Like, I would actually have videos like YouTube open on my phone. I'd show it to them right there in the store. You know, nobody was doing that at that time. And so, you know, my audience wasn't like naturally a YouTube audience. Then I make these videos. I make a video about, I just did a stream on my channel about this, right? I make a series of videos on Facebook Live, and then a series of videos on website design and SEO, which one could argue is going towards the same sort of general audience, but they're looking for two very, very different things. One is like, I want to be on video, and I want to learn how to do live video. The other is I want to not do video, right? Sit and blog and optimize and win that way. So it's a very different person. And in doing so, you know, we've developed this subscriber base with multiple interests. So creating videos moving forward has become a challenge. You have to kind of ask yourself, which segment of my audience am I going to focus on? True. So in understanding that, you know, I'm now learning YouTube again, right? Or over again, I should say, right? Yeah. And I'm watching a lot of your videos. I'm watching a lot of Nick's presentation. I'm geeking out on Nick's presentation right now.
Nick Nimmin will be on later.
And I got to say, Rob's delivery on camera is excellent. I really like watching you like go around the town and just kind of like spit the truth. So I'm learning it. It should always be a process. Dial it in, make better videos, and win.
Right on. For me, I think really the thing that I think about is it's really easy to have all kinds of big ideas and strategize and create flow charts and how it's gonna look, and you kind of get to a place where you can kind of not actually really do anything because you're researching. Like I sometimes think research is the act of never really starting. So for me personally, what I like to think about is how can I have a general idea of where I want to go, and then what is it going to take to get there, and then make a video, and then make another video, and then ask, because the human beings, we never stop thinking anyway. And it's like you got all your fancy flow charts and your research and whiteboards and
Windows.
And the things you think you're going to do when you're doing that, you never do them. You don't do them. You think you're like, look at that. That's some knowledge right there. That's some, really fine strategy. But then by the time you get 3 months in, you're totally have a different idea.
Right.
So I think really the more you can get into movement. And the word that I've been thinking a lot about that I would encourage everybody here to focus on is momentum. And what you want to do is you want to publish and analyze and think and ask yourself, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? And along the way, you will have a better answer to who is the audience. What am I trying to arrive at? So for me, that's really been success will be found in your next video. Yeah. Go make another video.
So for me, it's a lot of like, I'm constantly growing, and therefore my audience is constantly growing with me and through me. I mean, I talk about something that's kind of a lot of problem solving, because I talk about a lot about social media and content marketing. And so as fun and sexy as it really isn't, it's just solving problems for people. And the more value I can give to people and the more problems I can solve, the more people are going to come. And so it's also about really figuring out as you're going along with this, like, how can you grow and be more for your audience? Like, I got on YouTube because I had a need. My husband was in the Air Force. We were moving to a country where I didn't know the language. I didn't know what I was going to be doing to grow this business that I had built. And I was like, well, what am I going to do? And so I got on YouTube because it was my only way to share my knowledge and connect with people. Knowledge. Yep. And so I continue to do that every video I can. I think a lot about it. And I'm sorry, this is really funny. This room is just so ridiculous. This room is so ridiculous.
It really is.
All right.
That's not true. Keep going.
But yeah, so it's like I love watching my audience sort of evolve as I've gotten better at this, but I'm also like always trying to keep giving more value to them. And I think that that's what keeps people around and keeps like, you got to go watch this channel. You got to go watch this channel. And I think the love and collaboration that we all have in this creator community is also really helpful too. Cause I know that I've done videos with almost everybody in this room and it's been added great value to my channel and back at theirs.
That's awesome. Take that mic back. And I just wanted to say that our ideal audience is you watching right now. Thank you, everyone, joining us live. So I have a question. I really like this, and this is from Yasir Khan. So he asks, does it make sense to start a second YouTube channel if you want to change your niche that no longer aligns with your existing audience? So if I want to change what I do on my channel, should I just create a second channel, or should I just do it on my first one? That's pretty much the question.
Who wants to take that one? I only have one. Yeah.
Got it.
So I think the first thing you have to really address is where you're at in your journey as a creator. What are you trying to achieve? And the more, again, you can really keep it simple because it doesn't have to be this big master plan like I talked about earlier. Like, hey, I want to do this. This is the kind of person I want to serve. And the more you understand the core of that, that will guide you along the way. And if you're really far from that, or if you don't really know, I believe that probably a lot of people that get interested in the videos Nick shares and Owen and Desiree, all of the fine folks that make videos, is a lot of times you're at the beginning of a journey learning to make content. So if you feel like, I think it might be time to pivot. Just follow your instinct. You already know. Quite frankly, I think if you believe in yourself and you let yourself guide you and you move forward and you follow your intuition, you'll be fine. And the easier you can, the more you can keep things really simple again is going to allow you to really just focus on what matters. I think what happens for many people is they get trapped up in their head.
Yeah.
And you don't want that. And
So-
I will attack, and you don't want
Owen,
that.
So let's just kind of back and forth a little bit. It's
We got soda pop,
Demonetized.
soda pop, water, refreshments.
let's
You
go
gotta
back.
know when
Let's
to
go
hold
back
and
and forth
fold,
on this
folks.
because I think this is a big question. And I think a lot of people are gonna have this question in the future if you don't have it already. So workshop this with me, right? Like,
Let's do this.
How much is too much, right? So if you've got a like a sewing channel,
Okay.
and you want to get into another craft, like how craft is too craft, right? Like when do you
So like sewing, jumping to
yeah,
like
like when are you expanding your channel, and when are you? Is it time to like switch to a different audience?
Right. So for me, the thing that I like to do is you can always start broad as far as having vision, which is super important. Have vision for where you want to go. Understand what it looks like. You don't need the details. That's the thing. A lot of people are like, every little step. You don't need that. You just need to know where you want to land. And then it's like, well, but I heard I need to niche down and this, well, playlist. Like just create, again, just keep it simple. Like if you want to do sewing, because I'm a fan, I sew all the time, let me tell you. And crochet, that's probably a jacket. That's crazy talk, Nick Nimmin.
Yeah.
So for me, like my thing is like just keep it simple. And if you know you want to get into that space, make a video. Honestly, just make a freaking video, and then ask yourself the question again, and make another video, and you'll be able to adapt. Playlist, throw them in playlist, but think broad as you start out, like sewing, crochet. Do it.
I think it's also, there's value in asking your audience, do you want to come with me along this like different journey? Do you want to come with me along this different path? Because they might be more interested in your channel, not just because of like how you're helping them and what you're doing for them. They might just want to go with you because they like you and they want to go on this journey with you, especially if they've been around for a long time. As you grow, naturally as a human being, you're going to change interests and want to try new things and bring people along with them. It's like your family, like think of your subscribers as like people you hang out with and you spend time with. They're not just gonna drop you because you're like, well, I'm only here for the sewing. I don't care anything about your knitting. Like it's not gonna happen that way. So give your audience the chance to come along with you on this journey. Now, if you have a reason for starting another channel because of some other completely different reason, like maybe you want to do something completely off-brand or with a friend, or like maybe like I like to sew, but I'm also like a goth cooking goddess. Like if they don't like make sense together, that's your choice. But I think you give your audience a chance to come with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can I talk about like another level of this? I know it's
Yeah.
awkward. Another level of this is like, you got to think about what you're realistically trying to accomplish, right? Are you going to serve audience A or audience B, or are you in this place where you're like, I can do it all, right? Jay Bear is a world-renowned speaker, author, social media coach. He's been around since the beginning. And I recently was on his podcast, and we had this conversation about, what's the biggest mistake that social media marketers and people in our space, that includes us in their world, right? What is the biggest mistake they make? And he goes, people don't realize how much time it takes to do a thing.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
So it's like this idea, well, like, I'm making videos already. It only took me a half an hour. I could easily make this other video.
That's crap.
And you're instead of giving your audience your best, you're kind of like splitting your time, your energy, and giving two different audiences your half-ass. You know what I mean? And so even though you don't feel like it is, you feel like you're giving it your best and you're working really hard, you could do better if you focused on one thing and did that one thing really well. And so when we're talking about something like, sewing to knitting, that's one thing. But when we're talking, that's a playlist.
Right,
but when we're talking about like sewing to
The example he gave was, I currently was doing like living abroad, and now I want to go into self-improvement. So
Yeah.
I think those are completely different channels,
Yes.
right? Entirely, right? So it's just not the same audience. But I see how you got there, because through travel, right? You've developed and you've learned so much, and I think that's the story that you take on your second channel.
Let me hit it one more time. So the thing that I think is super important, and if you really want to grow, like this is the tough pill to swallow, but it's the truth, is that human beings gravitate. I like that. Gravitate towards greatness. And we celebrate rock stars, and we celebrate those people that play at the highest level, Olympic athletes. And your goal is to become the very best version of you can, and to make it easy for people to appreciate what you're doing. And if you're focusing, like Owen was saying, on one particular thing, you're going to be far more likely to make that happen and get to a level where you gain the respect. And sadly, I think a lot of people get stuck in this, I'm not getting any results, I should try something new. And you're on this perpetual hamster wheel, and you never really gain the skills and abilities because you're a jack of all trades.
true. Hashtag Gravitord in the chat.
Gravitor.
So I think I do think that it's a lot of important things that are said. It's like understanding the audience, and if you want them to follow you personally, if it's completely different from what you were doing currently, a second channel may make sense in such that way. Now, the next question, and I think you will all enjoy this one, is if my audience has changed, how do I change with them, or do I just completely ignore them? So do I change with my audience, or do I ignore my audience? The question is, I've changed the content, and some of it has changed.
That's
So
the problem. Right?
Change the
so
content.
you've changed the content. So,
No. So what's the question?
So
Say-
they've
say it
changed the
again?
content, and the audience has changed. So do they keep that original, or do they change with the new one? That's what they're asking.
Make up your damn mind, and this is, I've been in this place. I've absolutely been in this place where, you feel good doing this, but you're like halfway committed, and you're like, oh my God, I was doing better over it. I'm going to turn around. And I think that you've already made your decision there. You know what I mean? Like, figure it out.
The only split testing you should be is doing A/B testing with TubeBuddy. Thank you. Anyway,
Plug.
look, if
Shameless self-promotion on the channel.
Imagine that.
so, we've talked a little bit about finding the audience. We talked about how you should be following the audience, which in turn the algorithm follows. So, a lot of people say it's one algorithm. Do you believe that it's one singular algorithm or multiple algorithms?
Go ahead.
I think at the end of the day, this is where I'm at with, like, after studying the algorithm and being really interested in search and really understanding how, like, the machines process viewers and whatnot, is that, does it really matter? I mean, if you stop and you say, like, if you focus that much, I mean, sure, it does matter, but when you get a basic understanding of what does matter, when you prioritize what's most important, and you make a really great video, like, it's going to work out. Like, and everybody, not everybody, and if you're brand new, you might not have heard, like, CTR, get a lot of clicks, keep people watching, but at some point you're going to gain that basic information and understanding, and that's the thing you want to focus on. Sure, there are multiple algorithms, but at the end of the day, they're measuring how viewers are interacting with your videos and your channel, and that's the thing to focus on. You know, keep them watching, keep them coming back, do your best to make great videos, and everything will work.
Do you think that that's part of the issue, is that we're all focused on these really big words like algorithm, and, you know, triggering the algorithm and getting our watch time up, and those are all good things, but the focus for many of you, I think, should be on developing watchable content.
Yes, I was
right?
just gonna say that.
And like your production value, and are you putting together a good show, right? So many times you can look at a video and you're looking at the stats and you're like, man, this video tanked here and it with little dips there, and my duration was kind of going down then. And you watch the video and you're kind of like, oh, yeah, well.
An algorithm is not going to make your content interesting or watchable or keep people interested. In fact, the more unwatchable and unlikable your content is, the more the algorithm's going to be like, yeah, no. So you really have to make sure that you're finding the balance between creating great content that people want to watch, that you would want to watch, what would engage them, and then figuring out, okay, based on this content I've been making, what have the results been, and adjusting the content to feed the algorithm.
Yeah, but also, like, why did you start doing this? Right? Like, why did you do this? Because, like, you're sitting in bed 2 years ago and you're like, you know what I really love to do? I would really love to stress over my watch time in 2 years, right? That would be amazing. I would love to be asking, you know, I don't think so. I think your dream was to make content and to, like, express yourself. And, like, are you doing that to the utmost? Are you working on that part of it to where, like, every piece you're putting up, you're proud of it, and you're giving it even time to sit on the website, you know, as opposed to, like, you're publishing it in 48 hours. You're looking at the results. You know, are you doing what you love still?
Yeah,
right?
I have the shameless plug about to happen. I do the Women of YouTube podcast, which you guys can go listen, which we do in partnership with TubeBuddy.
We'll put a link in the description.
Yeah, and one of the things that we always talk about on the show with women is, like, how can they create better content and why? Why? My first question is always, why YouTube? And a lot of them are like, I had this struggle, I had this thing, I had this need, I wanted to share this thing, I had this business need, I was trying to accomplish this goal. It was never, hey, I really want to, you know, I want to obsess about an algorithm and figure it out. Like, we all know once we dive into this, like, once we get to a point as creators where we're like, all right, what can we do better? Where can we get the data? How can we adjust it? And we all talk about how kind of creating video almost is the easy part. It's all of the extra stuff that you have to do that makes it a lot of work. So you really just have to make sure that you're creating something that's good, that's watchable, and at the same time, like, at the end of the day, you have to be happy with what you're doing. Otherwise, then it's just a job versus doing something fun, like being a YouTuber.
So I just want to bring it back. I think it is really important that you're honest with yourself, though, and you do understand yourself and your knowledge of the algorithm. And, like, someone said, like, do you want to watch your watch time? Well, yeah, actually I do. Like,
you're a nerd.
Well, no, but here's the thing. It's like, for me,
You do now. But when you started this, you wanted to make chef videos. You know, you wanted to make, like, SEO videos. Like, you started this.
Right.
because-
But at a certain point, like, depending on how serious you are and what
Yes.
you want, you have to know, if you don't know the rules of the game,
Yes, I
you don't
agree.
even know, like, you're playing soccer and this is basketball, brother. Like, you know, you're trying to make a field goal or some darn thing, and it's like you need to get the ball through a hoop. True. So I think it's really important to
Sport.
These are sports?
Owen?
knowledge. You need knowledge is what you need. You need knowledge.
So, speaking of knowledge, when it comes to creating content, where did you get your knowledge of YouTube? For me and most of us, I think we all either looked at the Creator Academy or a Mr. Daryl Eves, who will be joining us very soon.
Very soon. Yeah, I would say everybody here, and Daryl Eves, Nick, all the guys here, Tim, all those guys.
I uploaded video on accident. You know, that is literally what happened. I was making videos for customers to help them explain what I had already sold them. It was actually more of like a retention situation, and YouTube was just the most available. I got a call one day from a guy who's like, hey, I just saw your video and I want a website, whatever it costs. And I'm like, okay, $5,000. Okay, great. So what video are you talking about? And he said, go to your YouTube channel. You've got this video. And I did. I had thousands and thousands of views. I had a couple thousand subscribers. And I did nothing intentional, right? So that's when I discovered Daryl Eves. And it was right around the time of Vid Summit. And I went to Vid Summit like on a wish and a prayer, just like seeing what would happen. And I met people at that conference that to this day I am closer with than many other people I've known for much longer, right? It's a great event to go to, especially as you're beginning your journey and learning what you should be doing. So that's sort of what happened with me is I had some accidental success. I met the right people, and they plugged me into a community. So that's kind of a way of answering. Yeah. Okay. So, I meet Daryl Eves, right? And like I had just uploaded a video where I'm wearing like a suit coat and a bandana, and it was just like. And Daryl says to me, he's like, "Look, I love everything that you're doing. I just hate the way you do it." And that was the beginning of a wonderful relationship. And I'll tell you, like, he was absolutely right. I was trying to be someone else. He's like, you need to be yourself. You need to be more Owen. He tells me that even in a phone call like 2 weeks ago, he told me the same thing, right? And I'm trying to step into this. The Rock had said this, Dwayne Johnson recently, is like the more authentic you can be. And you have to be careful because you can get into this, like, should I do this over-exaggerated thing, Well, no, you just be more of yourself. Like you be more authentic. It means be crazy and wild. No, if that's not you, then don't do that. But step into who you are. Fall in love with video again, right? Plug into the community, and a great place to do that is VidSummit.
Agreed.
I think for me, like what I want to share is it doesn't really matter like where I learned the stuff. I learned it from Daryl, and when I got started, I watched a ton of stuff from Tim Schmoyer.
Yeah.
And by this time, I had already been geeking out on Google SEO for 15 years. So a lot of the basic fundamentals of keyword research, the stuff I literally just put out a video on understanding viewer intent, and it's the same thing as buyer intent. That's on Google. But what matters to you is what you know, and if you know in your heart you need a little bit more understanding of CTR or watch time. And here's the thing, like you hear, like how many times have you heard like increase your CTR? Well, how do you do that? Well, there's a number of ways. The more you can study and figure that out. This is what I want to encourage everybody watching to do, is that tell yourself to figure it out. What I hear a lot of people saying is I can't do that. And what I would add to that is, yes, you can, maybe not right now. So catch yourself, and when you say something, I can't do that, just say, well, maybe not right now. Because the more you really identify and understand what you need to improve, that will give you a roadmap. But when you say, I don't know how to do that, you're kind of telling your brain, you're letting yourself off the hook. It doesn't have to be super nerdy. It doesn't have to be super geeky. But just by understanding the basics, then you can get to the how do I do that on video? You can test something. You can try again. You can work on your audio. You can make a better thumbnail. You can try to be more compelling. You can learn about your retention. All of these things, wherever you're at, that's what matters. And I would encourage you just to get honest and real with yourself and say, this is the thing I'm working on until I improve it. Then I'm going to go on to something else. And if you do that, in a year from now, you're going to be a rock star. Status achieved.
True.
Whoops. Almost struck it there. For me, I got into YouTube because of Amy Landino, actually.
Oh, wow.
Amy Landino, she's now Amy. She was Amy Schmidt-Tower. She's pivoted a lot lately, but she had a whole channel dedicated to talking about social media and video marketing. And at the time, I was really looking for... Again, I needed a solution. My family was being stationed in South Korea, and I needed to figure that out. But I also been paying attention to video for a long time. I've been a social media marketer for like 11 years. So it's just been something that's been around for a long time. I just had to take the time and make it happen. You can research somebody all day long, and you can learn from people all day long. But if you're not going to like take action and do things, like it's just basically a waste of your time. Like no amount of research will prepare you for getting in front of a camera and hitting record and getting that really bad video out of the way. and then making another video that's a little less bad, and then they get better and better, and then you can have something to go off of, and you can get analytics, and you can figure out where to start and how to make things work for you. And then turn to people who you admire, whether they're these people that are in this room right now. There's a lot of really great YouTube power up in here. Or you can turn to people who are in your niche that you really like, that you're trying to mimic, or that you want to learn from, and find a way to tap into what they have going on and study what's going on. What's really great with the TubeBuddy tool is it actually shows you all of the information about every channel when you have it installed on your desktop. So you can really go and see, all right, this is what this person's keywords are, and this is how this person's ranking, and what's going on behind the scenes for them. So it's just a really, no amount of comparison, no amount of being inspired by is not going to make you hit that button. So you can do this, create those bad videos, and then build from there, so you can go through all of the stuff Brian's been talking about.
Can I want to reapproach what Brian said, because this was something I really appreciate about you, is that you're so data driven. Because as an artist, I really struggle with looking at the numbers. I don't want to know what someone else thought about my work. And I don't know if you guys have struggled with that. If you have, let me know in the comment section. Because for me, for a long time, you do a video and you feel really good about it, and you're like, I don't need the analytics, right? I feel good about this piece.
I never thought that.
No, you see, that is something that I struggled with for sure, right? Not wanting to actually look at the numbers and have to deal with sort of like a rejection. Now, you see it one way or the other in the view count, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's like less painful process. And so looking at the numbers for me was a discipline I had to learn, like working out, right? Like when I first started working out, it was miserable. But then as I continued to do it, saw the results from it, I began to enjoy it. And I think looking at the analytics was the same process.
Yeah.
You know, I just want to throw on there too, like as creators, I have a lot of tough days because I really put a lot of thought and effort into my videos, Owen.
Yeah.
And I do check the analytics, and I can see when they're stumbling within a few hours.
Yeah.
And the thing that I want to encourage everyone watching is to keep moving forward. And again, coming back to momentum. In fact, just 10 days ago, I put a week into one video. We're talking 3 to 5, 6 hours a day, from researching to editing to scripting to filming. I was really proud of this video, and it was a good video, but my audience wants to know how to get views and how to get subscribers, and this was money. So it didn't really take off the way I anticipated, and it could have been really easy for me to stick my head in the sand. And thankfully, I don't always feel like this, more times than not, but I was just able to turn it around. And the next morning, I had an idea based on what to do, analytics, based on the video I just published. And that video was my #1 video. It drove the results, got everything I was hoping for. So the thing you don't want to do is really get stuck in, what do I do now? I published the video, make another video.
True.
For me, that's really the honest answer, because the more you do that, the more you're going to hone those skills and abilities that'll give you the Robertos in the house. What's up?
So I think it's also very important that you're okay with the results, with the effort you put in. I really appreciate even though it didn't perform at the level you expected, you still have to learn to be all right with the results. And I think there's value in everything that has been said. However, we have a tradition when we have a group stream like this. It is #closing time, folks. So you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here, because we got Daryl Eves, Nick Nimmin, D. Nimmin, and Roberto Blake on the couch next.
Wow. I warmed it up for you guys.
As well, last but not least, Trena Little, if she'll come.
Do we just leave, or?
Yes, right there.
All right.
When they say you have to go,
I wasn't sure if it was
that's
like
usually the cue.
a
That's
set
the cue.
change, or...
You don't have to go, but you can't stay here.
Woo!
That's kind of the phrase.
That it is. All right. Rob Balasabas. I wanted to say and take this time for the audience. If you want a question answered, please use the #question. Mike and Ike as the moderators. Ike, could you please put the chat in slow mode so it's a little easier to see the questions? Thank you, everyone who's been joining us live. We're just waiting on Daryl Eves and Trena to make their way on over.
Are we still live?
Yes, we are still live.
Owen was really sprawled out. and I
You
don't
can be
wanna-
really sprawled out if you like.
I want to do that.
So, we are just waiting on Trena, But in the meantime, we have quite the lineup. We have a
This is like the most awkward.
Daryl leaves.
All right, let's do
All
this.
right, let's do it.
Woo!
Let's go. Let's
A
do
different
this.
side of Daryl.
I don't even know what's going on here.
So,
Is this going to be the YouTube man's catalog?
There's a calendar.
Wait, let's get some drill going.
Actually, let's get the real awkward.
I love how even though we're live, folks, you never know what'll happen. I don't even know anymore.
All right.
All right. Daryl, here you go. Here's a mic.
All righty. Are we
So,
live?
We are live. It is
Hey,
a
everybody.
live stream.
There we go. There we go.
All right. So the first question we had, now that Daryl's on, why should I go to Vid Summit?
Oh my
Straight
dear.
up from the chat.
Okay, so let's talk about Vid Summit here. No,
Because that's the question. I want to hear from everyone.
is it really an actual
It was
question?
a genuine question. Why
Okay.
should I go to Vid Summit?
Shame and a little self.
So it's really awkward for me to answer it. So what I'm going to do is defer to Nick.
You need to come to Vid Summit because, one, it's important to be around other content creators. Two, it's important to make sure that you are staying on top of the information that's important right now when it comes to YouTube, social media in general. Just video, I'll do it that way. And just the networking is completely off of the chart. So
Yes.
if you really are taking YouTube seriously and you really want to, and just online video in general, if you're taking it all seriously and you really want to take everything to the next level in terms of just your understanding on what's important, what's not, the things that you should be doing, you need to come to Vid Summit. In addition to, like I was saying before, the actual networking is also completely off the charts. It's kind of like like with a lot of these things you go to, people are kind of like walled off, like if you go to some of the other ones. But here you can actually walk up and talk to like all of your favorite creators, and nobody's like weird about it. So it's awesome. You should definitely go.
Hold on.
Oh, God.
In the famous quiet on the set.
Oh, God.
In the words of Ty Lopez, knowledge.
So,
We had Ty at the conference. He
is
came for
true.
5 minutes, met Gary Vee, and then left.
So
He got
Roberto?
his knowledge.
He got his knowledge.
He did. We'll pass it to
All right,
Roberto.
Roberto.
Si, senor. So what's up? What's the question? Oh, still Vid Summit? Oh, so what's up? Oh, like, oh, well, yeah.
All right.
Well,
just
no,
wanted to make
like,
sure you're
why
comfortable.
should you come to Vid Summit? You should come to Vid Summit and you should come to my talk, and then you should stalk me in the hallway right after, bribe me with food, and then I'll reveal all of my secrets. And I'm not even joking. But no, but on a serious note, what Daryl has done with Vid Summit is super tremendous, and it's the place where I go when I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. It's the place where I actually go to challenge myself, test myself, and to also build and double down on my relationships with other content creators. I go to Vid Summit so that I can listen instead of talk. And it's the best experience I get out of the year. It's my Super Bowl. It's my Disneyland. And it's because I get to be with the other misfits like me. I get to be with the other creative people like
True.
me. And I get to know that any problems I have, other people have lived through it, can walk me through it, can talk to me about it, or really just empathize with me and let me know that I'm just a little less alone in those very much first world problems, but you still need that support. So I go to Vid Summit because it is the place where I know I belong, it's the place where I know I fit in, and it's the place where I know people actually are going to try to help me with whatever I've got to deal with.
True.
Yeah, and piggybacking on what Roberto said, I'm from a small town, so YouTube is a foreign concept for most people.
Yes.
So to be able to go and talk about YouTube and talk about the struggles you're having and finding even accountability partners. I've met people at Vid Summit that I still talk to at this day, or we have a text chain like, hey, can you check out my video and give me any kind of feedback on how this video went? Because when we're doing our own content, we get so honed in on what we're doing and we can kind of have this block. And so being able to have outside perspective, and at Vid Summit, it's so easy to find someone that's doing what you're doing to talk to about video and YouTube.
Good points all around. So someone asked.
That was like a good Summit commercial.
All right. Vid Summit commercial.
We'll
No,
send you
let
this
me.
clip.
I definitely. It's in the mail. What's your Venmo again? All right. No. The main reason why I started Vid Summit because I have a lot of case studies and I was asked to present and I'd go to these conferences and there's a couple types of conferences. First one was the pitch fest and I literally hated it. It's like, hey, I'm going to sell you my product and go to the back of the room and sign away your life and your firstborn child and maybe I will teach you. And I would walk away with like a really icky feeling and I'm like, this is just manipulation and I didn't like it. And then I go to some other conferences, and you might get one good speaker. You might get one person that you connect with, but there's a lot of great people to network with. I'm like, was that really worth my time flying halfway around the world, leaving my family, and going to a conference? And I looked for a conference. I love VidCon. I've been to every single VidCon, and it's just what it is. It's a creator fan experience where creators connect with the fans. And then there's like a million different distractions. You have Disneyland and everything else around with every party and everything that's going on. And there's like this sense of exclusivity. If you don't have a certain band, if you don't have a certain name, if you're not connected to a person, then you're literally locked out.
Yep.
And I'm like, what can I do to do this? And so I reflect. I am a knowledge junkie. I want to learn. I want to grow. And I decided, hey, if there's not anything out there, I'm not one to sit back and complain. That's the last thing that I do. I not only sit back, I ponder, I analyze, and then I take action. And so I decided, who do I want to learn from? Where's the areas where I'm deficient? And I actually put a list of 16 people that I wanted to learn from, and I invited them to speak at VidSummit. It was VidSummit 1. We had about 75 people in the room. It was one of the most amazing experiences of my life because I actually learned for a solid 2 days from people that taught me about strategy. It wasn't about me teaching them. It was more of a creator helping creators. And that's where it was all born. And before you know it, we doubled in size and we doubled in size. And the whole thing about it is we don't want everyone there. We don't. We want the people that are passionate about helping other people. And that conference, and this is what I love and respect about everybody, everyone that has spoken at VidSummit, except for a few keynotes that they just have to come and go because they're so busy, which is they go and present, then they stand around and answer questions in the hallway for 2 to 3 hours, and then they go in on the front row taking notes, and they're just there to learn. And that's what I love about VidSummit. And just a little shout out and props, and this is really, really important. TubeBuddy, why I really love TubeBuddy is it's an amazing tool, but they supported me when there was only 75 people at a freaking conference.
Yeah.
And that right there is loyalty. And I think Phil and the team at TubeBuddy, they came to bat for me. And the least that I can do is go to bat for them. And I don't think I've raised their price of being a sponsor in a very long time. I think I got the short end of the stick, but it's okay because we love it. We'll see now that Rob's here. I probably can get some more money now, right? Little money bags. But no, that's why I started VidSummit. But
Checks
like
in the
for
mail.
me, I know it's not for everyone. I know that it's around the world. That's why we live stream it. That's why we have digital replays. But for me, I want everyone to know who I take care of, and I want it very, very pointed, right? I take care of the YouTube educators, the ones that get overlooked, that are not on stages at every conference. And I know that they give more value. I was like literally with a client in North Carolina. I was sitting down with a bigger YouTuber that came into town. He's like, hey, dude, I really wanted to thank you for your videos. This guy had 20 million subscribers. I'm like, thanks, man. And, he took the time. He knew who I was, but yet, I'm not really anyone. I'm just here that I'm very passionate about online video. And so I wanted to make sure that, the Nick Nimmins, the D Nimmins, the Roberto Blakes, the, Brian G. Johnsons, the Owen videos, like the Steve Dottos, like they know that they can always speak as long as they're not speaking on the same thing. I just don't want to hear the same story, the same spiel. So that's VidSummit right there.
Yeah.
Here, hold on, I'll do it for you. Ready?
And because I don't want to lose the mic, I grabbed it. Now, I do want to say, someone asked a question, how much do I have to pay to see everyone that's been on the stream thus far? VidSummit is only 1 ticket away. So that's it. However, so let's just say, that's pretty much answers that. So here's a question. It's a pretty unique one. I want to pull a prank on my audience and put up a 10-second video just to randomly put it out there. How will this affect my channel?
Let's start on that end and work down this way.
The VidSummit?
No.
Oh, I'm
They
so
want to put
sorry.
a 10-second video on their channel just to kind of prank their audience, and they just want feedback on if you think they should do that or not.
Yeah.
You think that's good for their channel?
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
the question.
Okay.
So what you're thinking right now, just answer that.
Yes.
Yeah, say what you're thinking. Yes. She's got it.
I'm a
Painfully honest.
Yeah,
Be painfully honest.
You go first. I'm totally lost.
Usually we don't.
I think Roberto will be okay.
Yeah, I think Roberto will be able.
Okay, so yeah, I'm the tough love guy. I'm gonna be painfully honest with you. If you're a very junior creator and you are not a very large channel, because the thing is, if I was actually talking to you, I asked you how big your channel is before I come to that conclusion. Because if you're very early in your YouTube career and if you don't really care about massive growth right now or about consistency, if you're just feeling things out and you're having fun with this, if you're at the hobby level, go for it. I don't really think it matters. But if you are a couple thousand subscribers in, or you're a larger channel, this is a terrible idea. This is a horrible idea, and I think it's going to. And I think it's going to. Like, I think a 10-second prank. If you have an established channel where you've conditioned people's expectations, and it's not a prank channel, if you're not a prank channel and you want to do this, and it's 10 seconds, you literally have alienated a large portion of your audience, because if they don't get the joke, then they're out, probably forever. You are going to risk massive losses of attention. You're also telling the YouTube algorithm something different about your channel, and it's going to be confused about how to promote your next video. I think it is a god-awful, terrible idea personally.
So would you say that at that point he's no longer focusing on the audience?
Yeah, I think that if you made a commitment to your audience and you deviate from the commitments you've made to your audience, you literally, like, I think of it like almost like a business. I think of it like a business, or I think of it even like if you're an athlete. If you're an athlete and your team is counting on you to go out there and to crush it, and then you decide you're gonna throw the game for a prank, I don't want to be you in the locker room tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, so that's my, like, yeah. So that's my answer, is that, like, you know, now if you're a prank channel, it's part of the gimmick. But if you're not, I don't think it's worth it, man. So that's my thought.
All right.
Yeah, real quick, it's
Go
like
for it.
I'm a big fan of viewer experience, and I think that if you are going to do that, you're wasting a piece of actual content that can actually do something for your channel. I think
True.
I personally am not a fan of the idea.
Okay, so I might be the odd ones out here. Like, if there's a strategy of why you're doing it, and there's a clear purpose that you can find entertaining, I'm not opposed to it. I think that if you could actually take time and say, okay, what value you're going to bring to the viewer, is it a prank or what it may be? As long as, like, but no, I know. But if it's like the most amazing 10 seconds of all history of all mankind on YouTube, I would want to watch that 10 seconds.
Fair.
Like that, but if you can't do it, I agree with the panel here. Like I'm not opposed at all. It's just, you convince me, like, how amazing that 10 seconds will be.
So a question just came. Since you said that you have to grab attention, what's the best way a new user can grab viewers' attention?
So I can tell you this, and this is something that everyone preaches from, YouTube educators and even TubeBuddy specifically, which is if they never click on the video, they're never going to see the video. So make sure you spend a lot more time on titles, thumbnails. I would spend probably 10x what you'd normally do and focus in on what is really going to grab the attention. How are you going to pull them in? What's the expectation of that title and thumbnail? Because that's where the average view duration actually starts, is at the title and thumbnail.
Makes sense.
What was the question? Sorry.
So how should you grab your viewers'
Right.
attention?
Yeah, obviously, if your content is the best content that's out there, they're not going to watch it if they're not clicking on it, right? So any way that you can get them to click on it, your thumbnail is basically your primary marketing material. And if your marketing material isn't grabbing eyes, then what's the whole point of you putting the time into the video? You're going to waste your time on the video if you don't think through that. And what I really focus on my channel is having a process in place, and the first piece of that process is determining what that title and thumbnail is before I even turn on the camera, because that's definitely going to affect the direction that my content is going to go to make sure that video has viewers and that they're going to click on it.
So your advice is to grab them even before the video starts in the thumbnail, and I like that.
Yeah, and really thinking that through so you can craft and script your content to really bank on that title and thumbnail.
Yeah, so it's almost like you want to make click-worthy, not clickbait.
Yeah, for sure.
Click food.
Click food?
Not clickbait.
Like,
I like that.
Andrew, start the clock because I think that
Oh,
I can
no.
give people. I think I can accomplish. Here's the thing. No. Start the clock. Start the clock because I think in 90 seconds or less
Okay.
I can.
Hold on, I'll hold him to it.
No.
I put 90 on the clock.
I think in 90 seconds when I say go.
Okay.
I think in 90 seconds.
Going, dude.
Let me set this
Okay.
up. Let me set this up though, because I think in 90 seconds
Let's go.
that I can tell you the thing that is actually worth buying in a $1,000 YouTube course. This is the actual thing. So now you can
Go.
start the clock.
Going.
All right, Daryl's right. Daryl's right that nothing happens without the click. You know what the barrier to a click is? It is the topic itself, because I don't really care about surfing.
seconds.
It is the timing of the video. So it's the topic, the timing, the title,
I have
and
a
the
Nimmin
thumbnail,
17.
all in combination. That is the barrier to the views, but also you need another additional source of attention, because it was about grabbing people's attention. Thumbnail stops them scrolling. Title tells them this is relevant to me. It's relevant to the topic, and the timing. If you release a video at the worst possible time, you have the worst possible traction for it. If like 90% of your audience is asleep when you release that video, that's really bad. And you also need timing of the market. What are people interested in right this moment? And finally, for the additional attention, you need the shareability in the content. And I would challenge you in the first third of the video and in every third of the video to make a memeable moment or a shareable moment or what you think is a viral moment that will get somebody to say, you know what, I gotta share this with all my friends. They're gonna love
30
it. This is
seconds.
hilarious. So you do that, you will get more attention, more traction, because the new people it was shared with will see a really good thumbnail that says, all right, that's worth it, and a title that says it's relevant to me. The end.
Oh! And for that,
How far? I had time.
16 seconds to go.
Man, I did it. Mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. And that is worth $1,000. That is worth every.
Venmo account, Roberto. Blake@gmail.
So, question. How did you get everyone to come on the stream? I begged, I plead, I said please.
No, it's a pizza.
Pizza, yeah, pizza. That's what I heard too.
Free food.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all it took? So, we have another question, and this question I think a lot of people struggle with. And so they said, I found my audience, I'm happy with them, but I seem to stagnate in growth. What do I need to do to grow past the audience I've already developed?
You say grow past the audience they developed?
They want to keep growing, so they said past the existing they have, they're happy with it, but they want more.
What I would do in that situation is I would dig into the content that's working that they did respond to previously, and not just look at the actual view counts themselves, because a lot of different things can actually, cause those view counts. But I would actually look in and try to figure out, like what they actually responded to in terms of topics, and I would also try to find out what they respond to in terms of how long they watch the videos, because when it comes to the stuff that they're really into, that's the stuff that they typically watch for a longer amount of time. So I would just make more of that particular type of content. It's also really important to make sure that when you are putting content out there that you, like if you're stagnating, it's probably because in the type of content that you're making, you might be evolving also. And it's important to make sure that you are staying true. I mean, everybody has to evolve, but it's also important to make sure that you're staying true to the actual audience that you're trying to serve.
True. Does anyone else want to say anything on the panel? No worries, Daryl.
I would also say to dig into your thumbnails, your click-through rates, see how can you make them better. Don't worry about average click-throughs. Look at what yours are and how can you make them better. Take yours as a baseline right now and make them better. What Nick said, also the audience retention, how can you make your videos better? And one other one that I'll throw in is kind of like my trifecta that I look at is end screen click-through rates, because if you can become a bingeable channel to YouTube, they're going to put you in front of more people. And so I always, with my audience, refer to this as Mario Brothers analogy, where you're trying to collect as many gold coins as possible when you go down that little green tube. And so if you can collect gold coins by getting the click-through rate, more gold coins by getting people to watch your videos to the end, and then getting people to watch even more with a click-through, end screen click-through, you're just compiling all of these gold coins, and that's when YouTube's going to start showing you to more people.
Gold star. So I have another analytics thing driven for you guys. I want you guys to look in your YouTube analytics dashboard and look under reach, and you're gonna see something interesting. You're gonna see the ratio of watch time, and you can even do this for views if you drill down into it, and even unique viewers, of what percentage of people are watching your videos that are subscribed to your channel versus not subscribed. And the thing is, you would want, in a perfect world, maybe 80% of your viewership, in my opinion, if your goal is growth. If your goal is growth, then what you would want is you'd want maybe the 80-20 rule of 80% of people seeing your content to not be subscribed, because it would argue that, hey, you're going to convert this new audience who has no idea who you are to being a loyal subscriber. Active subs is usually predicated on personality-driven channels. So I would also ask you, is your stuff topic-driven, or is it that people have an interest in the topic, but what they really stay for is your personality? And is your personality something that, if shared with new people, will draw them in? And is there any evidence of that in your analytics data? What videos did people subscribe to? Watch those videos again and look at where the most subscribers came from, because if you're trying for subscriber growth, that's going to be the factor. If you're looking for view growth, which you need for subscriber growth, then I agree 100%, start focusing in more on the click-through rate. Also, I would say look at the niche and look at the topic and look at what the average view market cap is for people who are not famous, because the famous people are the outliers. Look at how much interest there is in the topic, because those famous viral people are more personality driven, and you just may not be there in your experience on camera or like revealing layers of yourself to have put more of your personality into the videos, because you might be leaning on your confidence of how much you know about something, but you might need to start shifting to your enthusiasm, because that's what will attract people, because that's what's contagious. And people who don't know you will become excited about how excited you are about the same thing you both like. So that's what I would tell you, is figure out if there's a growth cap in terms of you're reaching people that don't know you, and then make them excited about the fact that you're excited is probably the most attractive quality, is somebody who is really passionate and enthusiastic about something. So that's what I'd say.
And that's the beauty of YouTube. They may come for the topic, but they'll stay for you if you can get them there.
They come for the pizza, but they'll stay for the stream.
Yeah.
Oh, and the cheese. No, I would say for me, I look at it pretty deeply, because that's one of the common concerns a lot of creators have, is like, how do I actually scale this? It doesn't matter if they're a creator or a brand. It's like, how can we take it to the next level? And it always has to do with audience size. And part of the issue that a lot of creators make is they hear it coming from our mouths, hey, you got to niche down, you niche down, you niche down, and you really niche down too niche.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like way too niche. And so what you got to do is take a step back and make it a little bit more general. Not too general. You're niche, but not too general. Now, you're probably saying, well, what is it? Is it niching down, or are you making it a little too general? Like, what do I do? Well, it's very simple. You like really figure out what you're passionate about, what your content is, and you really figure out what your viewer's passionate about. And you're able to see that, like Roberto said, in analytics. You can really dig down really deeply in a lot of amazing things that can tell you a lot more details from it. What I always found is to really take it over the edge to get a little bit more mainstream is to take it more mainstream by adding pop culture references or things that are trending, so it appeals to a broader appeal. Now, one of the creators that's not here is Sean Cannell. And what Sean has done with Think Media, and I really love that channel, is every CES, he knows that there's certain camera and gear that's going to be trending. And so what is he going to do on? He's going to get that video up, and he's going to upload 20 videos in a day sometimes, just because he wants to get that audience, that eyeball, and so on. And so to be relevant, to be trending, that's how you're able to do it. And I can honestly say the biggest ways to grow on YouTube is when you niche down enough that you can bring in a little bit more pop culture and things of reference of trending or whatever, and that's when you really explode, because it's more acceptable by a general audience, and you're not so niche down that you would lose 80%, if not 90% of the potential viewers that would want to see your content.
Let me add one quick thing to what Daryl said.
No worries,
Super
no
quick,
worries.
Because the word relevant comes up so much in the YouTube culture, and I'm going to define that in a way that's actionable for you. And so I would say that the components of relevancy are timeliness and familiarity. And when you talked about what Sean leverages, he's leveraging the familiarity of a product that the biggest brands in the world are going to run ads on, and it's a brand you're familiar with. Apple, Panasonic, Sony, Canon. These are household name brands that have existed for decades, so familiarity is there. The timeliness is the event and the promotion around it and the new ads and the new buzz and the fact that once you watch one video on it, you will not be able to escape those ads for Amazon follow you everywhere you go. So by the time you get to a Sean Cannell video, you're just going to click.
Video right now.
So but real
From
talk.
knowledge to Bloomberg.
Real talk. Right now, actually, here's a free gimmick for viral videos right now. Literally make like memes that are innocuous and like not offensive but very funny over the top as caricatures of every single political figure in the mainstream right now that's buying ads, because if they're buying ads, there's relevancy and timeliness and attention, and it's already inescapable. Now just make fun of them. And again, in a non-offensive way, but make fun of them and
offensive.
But bring everybody together. Well, not
Hashtag
no, we want to
Nimmin
monetize this.
Nazi. So, go ahead, Daryl.
So the next question is, and I think you guys will like this, is should I upload on YT, IG, FB, and gain a bigger audience that way, or just dial it down to one platform?
This is a complicated question because I would need to know what your ideal, finish line is. If you're a brand or a creator, let's just assume that you're a creator because generally most creators are watching this live stream right now. So
People are saying you're very flexible on a side note.
there we go. I am flexible. So anyway, I got a yoga channel. It's got roly-poly yoga. Make sure you hit that, smash that, no, stretch that, that subscribe button. No, but let's say that you are a creator and you look at very specific goals. I can tell you right now, I have given more consulting to people to be off of YouTube than on YouTube in the last 8 months. And I have musicians that are like, hey, I want to make it big on YouTube. I'm like, go to TikTok. And then I have other people that are like, oh, this is going to be amazing. I'm like, go on Instagram. You got to go where the bigger audience is for your vertical. And so I do love YouTube. And let me just share with you, believe it or not, guys, I just got another silver play button, and it happened 2 days ago. And I want to tell you about it. Thanks. I have a project that we're really passionate about. We decided to go round one on this to go on Facebook because that's where our audience was at. Now, we knew round two of our strategy would be on YouTube and Instagram, and we started Halloween Day on YouTube. That's like the, October 31st, and we were able to get a silver play button from almost an unknown project because we went where the audience was first and it was easy to go, which was on Facebook, and it was easy for our content to be shared. Now, that being said, you mark my words, this channel, it's called The Chosen, you can go check it out, will be at 1 million subscribers a year from now. And the reason why is we got 38,000 people to subscribe in the last 3 weeks. And knowing where the audience is at, how to speak to them, and then really pivoting and making these opportunities and strategies to grow, you can get to that point. But it's about focusing your attention on what's working. And I would rather go where people are already congregating, and I have a higher likelihood for that content to be consumed and shared. And so that's why I would be, platform agnostic. So.
I think that it all comes down to like what it is that you're trying to do. Like if you're trying to be a YouTuber, then in that situation, to where you're like, hey, I want to do the whole YouTube thing, and like you're stuck on that. Then I think that getting really good at YouTube first before you start spreading out would be a good call. Of course, it's you want to make sure that you secure everything and even experiment with them. But I think that it's important to whatever platform it is that you're going to go onto, that you're like, hey, this is the thing I'm going to do. I think that it's really important to get good at that because there's so much stuff to do with all of this stuff that it's really easy to lose focus in terms of like, hey, I'm spending a little bit of time here, 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 instead of putting like a lot of time into actually making something work. So I think that if hey, I want to be on YouTube and that's your thing, then in that situation, I think that that you should focus on that. Still, like I said, do the other stuff too, but like get good at that and then start flowing into the other stuff.
Yeah. I'm going last.
So I
right.
think what they said, know what your goal is. For me, as a business owner, my goal is to maximize my visibility. So my audience may hang out on Instagram and not realize that they need to be on YouTube. They may be on Facebook and not realize they need to be on YouTube. And so figure out what your goal is, because my goal isn't subscribers. That's not driving revenue to my business. Consulting, coaching clients, that's what's driving revenue to my business. And so for me to take one YouTube video and then just film a quick 30-second alternate ending for Facebook specific call to action or Instagram TV specific call to action, and it's just 30 extra seconds that I can then turn 5 videos across all the platforms for just 2 extra minutes and just splice them in. Because like I said, my goal isn't subscribers. That's what's not giving me money in my business. Money's coming by people getting to know who I am, building that know, like, and trust on whatever platform they are, and instead of trying to force them to a platform that they don't like. I come to the platform that they like.
And I think that's important, especially when we were talking about the audience here. Like, you're going to where the audience is, where opposed to, trying to get them where they're not. And one thing, to go back to what Daryl said, he was able to build an audience off platform and bring them over. So it's really the intentionality of the audience. Really?
It's not the same audience. Seriously, on Facebook, it is a 55 to 68-year-old woman from the South that is our main core audience. I mean, we pretty much have that. Now, on YouTube, it's actually a millennial. Really? And it's a millennial male. And we got it. It's just really defining what content that they would resonate with a little bit more than it would be, specifically on YouTube, or I'm sorry, on Facebook. But I think at the end of the day, it's like really understanding your goals and where you want to be. For me, it's like audience development is audience development. You can develop an audience on any platform, any way you want. It's about creating the value behind it and then figuring out how to push traffic where it needs to be. Yes, we did have some come from Facebook, but the majority wasn't. It was just triggers that we were able to do in a very strategic way, and that's what we did.
And there's a reason I went last.
All right.
And I'm going, I wouldn't go there. But I'm going to go super dark.
All right.
Yeah,
We're
no.
going red.
Yeah, no. So
Sith Lord Roberto comes out.
Your FIBA skills are no match for the powers of the algorithm. So there, that might hurt a couple of people actually, because that might be too real. That being said, it's time for the age of the YouTuber to end. Long live the age of the creator. Long live the age of the creator. So I went super dark there. I literally am declaring 2020, and you've heard it here first, the end of the era of the YouTuber. And I say that for a very specific reason. It's not that the opportunity on YouTube isn't there, but in a realm of understanding that the abundance of choice to a consumer of platforms, not just content. Everyone's complaining about saturation. I don't really believe in it. What I believe, though, is there is an abundance of choice for anybody for what they're interested in and in a variety of ways to consume. And that's not just limited to the content that they can consume, but the platforms they can consume it on. And we are making those choices every day about where we want to be. And the main platforms all have 500 million to 2 billion users. So if you think about that, there is nothing but opportunity, and those users are not always the same people. So what I believe in, to Daryl's point,
I got to share this. So it's really funny. One of my main clients is Mr. Beast, and we got stopped the other day. We were literally at a restaurant, and they're like, "Hey, you're that guy from Facebook," because we post Facebook. He has like 2 million followers. Like, yeah, I'm from Facebook. Yeah,
see, that's exactly the point. Because Mr. Beast, unbeknownst to anybody but me and maybe 5 commentary channels, Mr. Beast is the host of YouTube's favorite game show. But nobody realized that he is the new. But see, he's catering to a whole generation of people who never watched Double Dare and are now watching Double Dare without realizing it. That's a thing. They're watching that in the same way that I had figured out that there were YouTubers that I was watching a couple of years ago on their rise, and I said, they are MTV for a generation of people who don't know what that is. And so to Daryl's point, I've been preaching being platform agnostic, but also going to the platform that plays to your strengths most, but maybe not necessarily staying there and realizing, how can you repurpose either with an intro or if that's appropriate, or is there a snippet of your content that plays better in just the micro of that? Watching Gary Vee literally take videos from his old archive, but a 2-minute segment that proves that he was right in 2007 and is still right today is fascinating. Or the Joe Rogan thing where he showed, all right, we'll see and we'll play this back in 4 years. And what do you do? 4 years later, 4 years later. Like,
Yeah.
It's literally that. Being platform agnostic, but being contextual in delivery to the quirks of the platform, the strengths of the platform, and the culture of the audience is what being a actual content creator is, whether instead of romanticizing being a YouTuber, a TikToker, or an Instagrammer.
Yeah. Bridger, come here. So we're going to pull an audible here. Come here, boy. Come sit. Come sit. See, he's representing. He has his TubeBuddy, got it going on. Okay, so here's the thing. I love watching where the generation's going and where the eyeball's going. And my son's a good indicator. How old are you?
12
When's your birthday?
in like a couple weeks.
Okay, see, that's very safe. He didn't say his actual birthday, so that's a good. He knows what's going on. Okay, so I like, for me, the rising generation is always really important of where the future is going to be and how things are going to evolve. So my question to you, Bridger, this is a really, really important question. How much time do you spend on YouTube in a given week?
Probably like 70 hours.
There is no joke that he spends 70 hours on his iPod, right? Now, who do you watch?
Like Mr. Beast and all them. Like, yeah, Daryl.
I actually gave him a username and password for my course, and he watched one video, so he doesn't watch mine. I could, okay. So who else do you watch?
Like gaming channels like Laser Beam and all them.
Good.
Yeah.
He swears a little too much for you, though.
Do you watch
Okay.
like Dan TM or? No. Okay.
Okay, so seriously, there's probably 3 different YouTubers you go. Okay, now, in the last 2 months, did you watch more TikTok or did you watch more YouTube? And be honest on this one.
TikTok.
And why are you on TikTok?
Because it's funny. I don't know.
Okay, so this is a thing. So his viewing patterns. Now I'm a monitor. I'm a parent, so I actually see his viewing patterns. I can pull it up on my phone and see what he does. It's like 8-1, like 8% more on TikTok versus 1% on YouTube. And what happens is he gets into the swipe mode, right? You swipe up and swipe up and swipe up, and before you know it, he lost 5 hours of his life. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, so my point is this, and this is what I want to get at, and I know this is a TubeBuddy video, but it's really important that we understand where the audience is at. Now, I can guarantee you, what I love about TikTok and what I loved, and I used with the loved about YouTube, was it was about creating. And there's a new revolution happening right now of creation on micro content. You're seeing it right now where creativity is going to a really interesting level. Of course, you get the spam and the junk and all that other stuff, but it's a new level, and it's very simple. What can you do in a minute that will grab somebody's attention? But more importantly, what can you do in 15 seconds? And what's interesting is you have some videos that are getting decent views. Yeah.
Yeah.
And your sister, and how excited are you just to get that interaction?
Like excited, like super excited.
Because you're TikTok famous, right?
I only have 800 followers.
Only 800. But that's my whole point. I think the whole thing is when you're looking at the platform, realizing what generation of where their eyeballs are at, and understanding if you're going to hit that audience, then you need to resonate with that audience. And you got to go where they're at. Now, I'm never opposed to putting stuff on YouTube if that's the platform of choice. And I would say a safe bet is to figure out where your audience is at. And your second bet, if it's not the first, would be YouTube, because then it becomes searchable. And also it's meant to be consumed
by the way.
in a way that you can't consume any other content. Doesn't matter what platform is out there. This is a great way to consume in every device that you have. and there's so much content that's out there.
My advice, piggybacking on that, is again with my whole the age of the YouTuber is over. It's because I don't believe in YouTube first and YouTube only, which was the ethos of every big YouTube creator. But I now believe that it's YouTube and. So it's yes and.
Yeah.
Because I do believe in the archive and the longevity and search. And when other platforms, micro platforms, died, I actually saved a lot of my friends and a lot of my clients by getting them knowing and reading the tea leaves of hey, the relevancy of Snapchat is going to be in decline, and you have no real longevity with regard to the archive of your body of work, because this was also, by the way, prior to stories having archival ability with Snapchat. And I was you need to port yourself over to YouTube and Instagram pronto. And everyone who took that advice in 2016 from me still has a viable brand today, and many of the people who didn't, you haven't heard of them. So there's a reason for that. And so I agree 100% with Daryl and everybody here that, but I will tell you, to piggyback on the TikTok thing, I've had a real come to Jesus moment on TikTok over the last several months. And I will tell you that in the conversations I've had with creators and what I've seen is I believe that for creative expression and for artists and musicians, and I also think performer types, that TikTok will be the singular most important creative expression platform of the next 5 years, dwarfing YouTube in that and in short form. But I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that if you're going to grow, I just talked to a creator on the way over here, who has a 250,000 audience on TikTok and couldn't break 10K on YouTube over many years, but in less than a year got to a 250,000 on TikTok. A young man we talked to, Parker Panel, is at 1 million. He's at 1 million in TikTok, and we both know that for the last 4 years he grinded to get 10K on YouTube, and he's at 1 million in TikTok.
He's gonna come teach us about TikTok.
Exactly. So the thing is, in terms of creative expression and the thing that you might have been struggling to break through on one platform might have the best life it's ever had by just going to a platform where that audience doesn't have an abundance of choice yet for what you make, and where the opportunity is right there for you. Okay. Now the difference is YouTube is the best long-term platform for your financial future, in my opinion. And I would second that to Instagram, but don't sleep on TikTok right now just because there's not an easy road to monetizing it.
True.
Unless the government shuts it down.
That is true.
Well, look. The good news is you can all help me get rich enough, and then I'll just buy the government and give it to the creators. How about that?
There's a PayPal link in the description if you want to contribute to
It's all about money.
Well, thank you. That PayPal link will go to me, but thank you, Nick.
Buy back our creative freedom, I will. Just help me get the money.
So one thing I really liked about that conversation is you're focusing on going to where the audience is, not trying to get them to where you want them to be. And I think that's important, and especially identifying what your audience type is. So with that, we have finally reached a good milestone. We have now reached the highest group stream views of all time. So congratulations, panel. However,
Where are we at?
we are right now at 210 and growing.
Wait.
Uh-oh.
Okay, everyone share right now. We got to break records here. We're about goals here. We want to take it to the moon.
Daryl's like, let's make it to 400.
We can do 400. We
We're
can do.
gonna have a rap battle if you get it to
Yo,
We gotta
kick
find
it.
Sean.
Yeah, Sean was gonna come over and we're gonna do a rap battle.
That
We just all...
I would totally lose at that. I would totally lose.
So, I do want to involve more people. So, against my better judgment, I'm going to stand up and find a way to make room.
Well, we can kick out my son. You've done your good, kid. Hey, guess what? What did you learn this weekend?
I can stand. Wait. Oh wait, I know.
Okay.
I'm the coolest 7th grader from Mr. Beast.
Okay, there you go. That is so true.
All right. So,
I love it.
we have 2 new people joining us. We have a Daniel and a D.
All right. Woo. Can we all fit on this thing?
I have no idea
I'm
at this
like-
point.
Okay.
So,
I can.
We'll figure this
I can
out.
move if we need to.
we can definitely do this. So, we can have a D.
All right. This
right.
is what we're gonna do.
All right, let's hear it.
Come on, Nick.
Oh, there we go.
All right, I like
All right.
this. If we're in frame, that's now the
Right
question. We are in
It's
frame.
gonna be one of those awkward family photos. Come on, D.
Come on, D.
Like an uncomfortable Addams Family movie.
Hold on.
Awkward. Hey.
All right. Ike, can we give a round of applause for Ike for handling all the
right.
back end stuff?
Camera's moving. Are we chopped off?
A little bit, but don't worry. We're getting it
We're
fixed.
coming down there. We're slouching.
I'm going to get awkward here for a second.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I'm all rubbing his ear.
Go on.
So, we talked about mobile content creation. Someone asked, should I focus on what device my viewer is watching on YouTube? Is that important at all? That's the question.
The question is what device they're
Should
looking
I
on?
focus on what device the viewer is watching on YouTube?
I wouldn't focus on the device specifically. I mean, if you're, are they a mobile creator? Is
I'm
that the
assuming.
question? Oh, I wouldn't focus on the device. I would focus on the audience in general, and focus on whatever it is that you're trying to show them. Be it you're telling a story, or you're sharing a message, or you're doing a tutorial. In terms of adding text to your video and graphics and that sort of thing, if you find that you have a high viewership of mobile, like my audience is like 85% mobile, so I'm going to go a little bit extra to make sure that everything that I show is going to show up on a mobile device. But that's as far as I would go.
All right.
Add on to that.
Yeah.
Go for it.
There's partly maybe a hidden couple of questions in there. So an example would be, if you find that you have a large audience like D that's on mobile, then I wouldn't necessarily pop the investment for like a 4K camera or any of the extra storage that goes with larger files for 4K and things like that, unless you want to do like what we do with the crop factor stuff. But that's a choice. But if you are strapped on a budget and you're a mobile creator and part of it's budget reasons, don't feel forced to upgrade based on just wanting higher quality if you find that you're making acceptable quality for what consumers look on. And the other thing I would look at, just one more pattern thing, is I would look at the retention rate or watch time on the different devices and start to think about what the viewer experience is. I would care about the viewer and look at, okay, did I make my overall content a really good experience across all devices? And I would actually start testing and seeing, what is it like to watch my content on these devices? What is it like to listen to it with headphones? What is it like? And then I would make decisions kind of based on that, just to make a better product for the viewer.
On the mobile side, I think that double, right? Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, I think that it is important to know what people are watching your videos on, and the reason for that is, like Dee said, you want to make sure that you're using like the things that you're using to show them things, or how you're doing your thumbnails, things like that, that it can all be easily read. But that also applies to things depending on what it is that you're doing with your channel. Like if you're asking people to look in the description on a desktop, it's a different experience than if they are looking on a mobile device. So you might have to add a little bit more instruction to it if they are watching from a phone versus if they are looking on a computer, for example. So in my opinion, like it's important to be mindful of what it is that they are watching on, so that you can make sure that you are thinking through what it is that you're doing in your videos for those mobile viewers.
I would say this, and this is really important that everyone understands what I'm saying, because it's really important.
Is it important?
It's very important.
Okay.
Can I say it's important?
Yeah, is it important?
Okay,
though?
it's very important.
Okay.
Always,
On a 1 to 10.
I would say a 7.5.
It's pretty important.
That's pretty important.
Okay. All right.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, it's important.
Okay, so this is where it is. Always do mobile. The end. No, I'm serious. I can guarantee you, you take all the bandwidth on the internet and you look at just online video, 80% of that bandwidth is mobile. Yep. So, like, why even do anything different? I think, okay, so if you're a cinematographer and you want to make amazing pictures, that's great. But other than that, that's 0.2% of everyone else. Everyone, you need to just, like, frame up for mobile. And there's certain shots, like when we do ads, we do a lot of ads. There's different types of ad shots, like the cowboy, and there are a few other things like that. We actually do a double. Like, we go right into it, like right into their face, because you optimize for mobile and you'll connect. Now, here's the thing, and this is the thing I notice in your videos and Brian's videos, you're like right in people's faces. Why?
The reason I'm in people's faces is it's not necessarily because of mobile. It's more of like when you and I are sitting here talking right now. We're face to face.
But if I pull up your video, it's optimized for mobile.
Sure,
right?
without question. But what I'm saying is the reason that I crop myself that way in the actual video is because when you and I are having a conversation face to face right now, in your peripheral vision, like you see like this much of me
And
in
that right
focus.
there, ladies and gentlemen, is optimizing for mobile because that's it. I mean, you're connecting at a deeper level. And so I can tell you, if you want to engage more, it's like really bringing it in closer and making sure that your shots that, hey, you know what, that looks great on your, 100-inch television, but ultimately, what is it? What does it look like on this screen? You're like, what is that?
So, in your experience, and I know you've tested the heck out of this, how tight do you recommend cropping when you're optimizing for mobile?
It depends on how wide you are. I'm pretty wide, so it just really depends.
So someone said, that couch is so strong.
There's some truth to it.
There
There's some
really
truth. No, like seriously, like we have looked at different lengths, and when we're shooting videos, we'll actually have a monitor that will actually takes a marker and mark in, so we know, hey, is this in frame? Is it not? Because it's so important to have a square video, on certain types of platforms, and so we want to make sure it all works.
Would you say that that's very important for the hook in the? Would you say that if you are going to do different crops, that you would go more cropped in for the hook of the video, where the initial viewer is, to create that intimacy, and then if you need to for the optics of set design, do any medium shots afterward, that you would do it after you've done the hook?
I think it all depends on if you're trying to set up what the hook is. So you might take a wide and then just telezoom really close into it.
Emma Chamberlain style.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that you can do, but it's like, how are you going to set up so it really pulls them into your video?
Gotcha. Yeah.
And one thing to keep in mind is that 80% of the viewers on YouTube are coming from that mobile device, so it's a good idea to keep that in mind. Yeah. So since mobile has been brought up, people are asking about stories and how can we use them effectively. Has anyone had any successful use of YouTube stories, YouTube-specific stories?
When I do YouTube stories and I
think we should do a YouTube story about doing YouTube stories,
I
why
agree.
we're doing YouTube stories. So I'm going to do a story real quick.
But
Everyone do a story. I mean, this is like the total moment.
But I'm telling you,
This is like Inception here.
I directly convert subscribers. Subscribers from.
Wait. I can't do my story of you.
Doing a story.
Wait, I gotta do a story of a story here. Hold on one second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Andrew Can, Dara leaves, Roberto Blake.
Okay, Roberto.
Yeah.
Go for it.
So
Oh, wait.
We're doing
Whoops.
stories within stories within stories while live on YouTube right now.
We're doing a story about stories.
Yeah.
Nimmin and Roberto.
Yeah, I legit get new subscribers just by doing YouTube stories. Actually use YouTube stories. I kid you not. New subscribers.
New subscribers.
Yeah.
We can't do one here at TubeBuddy. We're live.
But no, I legit get new subscribers, and I get some really good comment engagement from YouTube stories. And I even actually test to see if people are paying attention. I was wearing a certain hoodie, and it was like one of my favorite hoodies, and I was trying a new look.
Hoodie?
No, it was not the merch. It was not the merch. I'm planning that. That's a plan. Like, yeah, by the way, robertoblake.com/merch. but the thing is, I made a joke because on my shelf I had my Pikachu, my glowing Pikachu, and I was wearing a black and yellow hoodie, and so then I made like a joke because that song black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. So I did that, and the thing is, people actually responded in the comments of that YouTube story, and I knew that they got to like the fifth story. And I know who got to that fifth story because they commented on it because I did some kind of call to action to say if they thought that was clever. And so it's little things. You'd be shocked how little micro entertainment things just kind of activate people and say, it's like, what else are you up to or whatever. And you'd be surprised how much YouTube stories actually reaches people who don't watch your content that often. Because I don't know, you probably have data on this, Daryl, and everything, and how they're pushing YouTube stories. But I found it similar with Instagram, to where you actually don't have to be following or subscribed to somebody to end up seeing their stories. Yeah. So.
One thing that I personally use stories for, and Dee does this actually a lot more volume than I do, is just the community interaction. So basically, like when people have questions, things like that. Basically, we'll have Q&A times. Like I'll typically have I'm going to be doing Q&A for the next couple hours. Dee will do Q&A literally 24 hours a day. He'll probably do another one as soon as, he stands up here. But he's constantly doing that. And the idea or the approach that we have with that is basically just, in interacting with the people that are watching the videos, answering questions of people that are watching the videos and that thing. So that's how we are currently using
And I
it.
just want to quickly answer, who gets access to YouTube Stories? You currently need 10,000 subscribers. That is the current barrier to entry on that.
Yeah, like what Nick was saying. So I do Q&A on my stories probably 95% of the time. And what I found is when that connection is made with people and you're given a video response to somebody, I find that they're leaving more comments under my videos. I find that they're more interactive in my live streams because you're kind of pulling them into what you're doing on your channel and you're personalizing everything. So if you're not doing stories and you have that feature, you're definitely missing out. And I think an easy way to get started is simply just do a Q&A. I think Q&A is the best way to get started.
By the way, that
It's human to human.
Yeah.
It's human to human. Yeah.
By the way, I've been growing my Instagram, even though it's different content than my YouTube channel. It's more motivational, personal development stuff, and I can tell you that translates the same thing you're talking about in the community, and also dedicated video replies. Fast track to growing Instagram is voice DMs and video DMs to the individual, but also making a call to action of asking them. You can't do this one in YouTube yet, though, but asking them to video DM or voice DM you their questions, and you'll personalize a response to them. Activates those people, whether they're new, whether they're old, and I'm telling you, I got massive growth and traction off of doing that, and that's the continued strategy. On Instagram, but with YouTube, for you doing the individual replies and replying to comments and also doing video replies, that is loyalty for life. Because also, especially those of you, even because you need 10,000 subscribers or more, what I will promise you is that the more you go to that individual person, the easier it is. And this is the thing that's not scalable, but this is how you build that loyalty squad to where you always know you're going to have hundreds of views the minute you upload, is if you took the time and you replied to as many people as possible, engage one-to-one with as many people as possible. It's not really scalable, but here's the real trick.
But it doesn't take a lot of time either. Like,
True.
it's not scalable, but it also doesn't take a lot of time. Like, you can do that. Like, for example, like D will probably do it, like when he stands up and like as he's walking down the steps or like walking down the street. He has like a 10-second opportunity to where you can have like a one-on-one connection with one of your viewers.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you can 10 individual people to 20 individual people in the morning, in the afternoon, in the night, that is 60 people that you have the opportunity every single day at scale to get loyalty from. And if you did that every single day for 30 days, how many people is that? You want to activate people, you want active subscribers. This is that hard road to it.
I wish YouTube would actually, sorry.
You're in a bad spot, dude.
Okay, so I wish. No, but I wish that YouTube would give us the ability to say, okay, what's the deterioration rate of the story?
Yeah.
I personally hate 7 days. Yeah. Like, I want to say, okay, is it 24 hours? Is it 48 hours? Is it 7 days? Give us the choice, please, YouTube. I know you're watching. You're listening to us. I know you are. So, but please, we need that. Because some of the things that you're connecting with your audience, you don't need for 7 days. And people are, I already saw it. Why am I going to engage with it again? I think it's kind of a little disconnect, but
also letting people on the inside too, hey, I'm getting ready to go live. Come join me on my live stream. Hey, this is getting ready to happen. Join us over here. That doesn't need to be there for 7 days.
It's like showing up late to your birthday, right? It's like, wait, it was just 7 days ago. Why are you doing it? No, but I'm grateful for it. I think it has a lot of potential. I love, tagging videos in it. I think it's a super big strategy of promoting a video. Let me give you a super hack since we're doing hacks.
Yeah.
Do a story about a video that you've done, okay, that has gotten you a lot of traction, and say, hey, this is what it is. Quick tip. Here's the video. Let them go watch that video. And then what would you magically release 7 days after that video?
Another video that's similar in topic.
Oh, baby. Okay, the end.
That's awesome. Boom.
And my heart rate goes up every time they do that.
In addition to what Roberto was saying about taking the time to reply, what I do, so people always ask me, why are you always walking? You're always walking when you're answering stories. It's because from the moment I leave my door to I walk to my motorcycle, I'm doing stories. Then I drive to where I'm going to go, I park my motorcycle, and then I'm walking into someplace, and I'm doing stories. So when I use that time just walking from point A to point B, and I just knock out my stories that way. I mean, it literally takes seconds. There's no reason not to be doing it. Everybody can pick.
So, I want to ask really quickly, kind of in a rapid fire style, if you were to choose one, should you focus on the audience or the algorithm? What would you choose? Audience. And with that, the question. Yes. And with that, we have ended the official highest view. Oh,
We gotta ask Daniel a question.
Here, you're like, hey, Daniel, come into the video. But we're not gonna let you talk. Like you can just sit on, you can just like sit on the floor and look handsome and bring a certain demographic into it, but you can't say a word.
I just want to say that Michelle Obama was wrong. When they go high, you go low.
Is that it?
That was it.
That's it. That's all you got? Come on, man. Drop us with some knowledge
Drop
here.
us a question. Andrew.
all right, we got a question from the chat.
What do we got?
When was the
Why
first
is
time?
Daniel sitting on the
when was
floor?
the first time that you installed TubeBuddy?
Ooh, yeah, we can actually track that. It was very early on. It was before I ever was working for the company, so it was really early on. I think that Phil had posted that. But an interesting statistic we knew your numbers. You installed TubeBuddy back when you had 18,000 subscribers. It was really low. Yeah, it was really low.
Subs that I have not
26.
like
At least one.
yeah, no, at least one. Like no, because
Two.
I've been using TubeBuddy for I think 5 years. I'm like old head. Like I've been using this for a minute. Like no, you guys have been around for a little long. Like well, chronologically, it'll feel like 5 years to me because it'll be date wise, it'll be for me. Because again, I just go off of 2015, and we're 2020 now. That's that's how my head works. That's I know that's not 5 years. That's 5 years though. Something like that.
So we do have one question for Daniel, but I know he's not going to like it.
No, YouTube is not racist.
Well, that is important. No, it says, well. Believe it or not, it was, can you get us free Filmora?
I absolutely can. Please, I want you to email me at darrelleves@gmail.com.
Wow.
So,
a legit question for real?
please.
What am I going to add to this conversation?
We're
at
1 year
this
now
point?
with channels losing comments. Who on this panel has helped channels suffering from losing comments? And Daniel, what is your advice for people who have lost comments?
Who have lost comments? I'll tell you. Who have had
Yeah,
content.
so what's your
missing.
advice for those channels?
Well, the first thing I would say, I'm going to give you a little middle ground advice, I think, is one of the things you have to pay attention to. A lot of channels have lost comments thinking they're just gone. And with the changes in the regulations, you may have a channel that is not specifically made for kids, and YouTube may have taken your content and or channel and labeled it made for kids, and your comments are gone, and you think, well, they took them away. When you're looking at your channel, make sure that you check the settings not only of the individual videos, but of the channel itself, because YouTube is taking a guess, and they've come out and said, hey, listen, we might think this is kids content and mark it as such and eliminate your which means you lose a lot of the features, not just comments. You can lose end screens. You can lose pretty much anything that's going to track anything that might have to do with following the viewer.
Cookies,
Yeah. So think about if your content is actually specifically made for an audience that is, under 12 years and younger. And if it isn't, then you can go back in, and YouTube has said you can go in and change the settings. If you happen to be a gamer channel that is just talking about different games, and it may have been accidentally flagged as a false positive, it seemed like a kids channel, go back in and turn it back on. If you know for a fact that you have a general audience type channel and it's not specifically designed to reach kids only, then go back in and change it and turn your comments back on. It's a pretty simple move.
And I got another thing to that. If you are currently suffering under COPPA, it's more important than ever for you to become platform agnostic in your brand. And I would tell you the following. For one thing, there is a Facebook creators program for monetization, and I would consider porting your video archive over to Facebook just to try to see if you can reach the monetization thresholds over there off of content you already have in inventory. This won't solve all of your problems, but at least it gives you the potential for another revenue stream. And if it grows big enough, you have yet a secondary outlet of distribution to negotiate brand deals just based on viewer traction and things like that without comments, because you're not usually negotiating based on comments when it's a brand deal, as long as you're within FTC guidelines on sponsored content and you're declaring it. So I would do that. If your videos are under 10 minutes, I would port over to IGTV as well, if you think that you have the ability to do there. Or like, again, because IGTV, unbeknownst to most people, is already in beta for monetizing with ads as well. Again, will not solve all your problems, but again, it is just another opportunity and you might be able to leverage it. So I'm looking forward to a day where there's a better middle ground between the platforms and the regulations, and when people, I don't know, are in charge of these things that actually know how to use email, let alone how the internet works. So until then, let's just figure out how to get you the most traction on your content, the most brand awareness, the most leverage, the most brand deals, and keep revenue up. If we lose other features and we need to renegotiate things, or we need to make other contents or make a secondary brand, the main thing is to take what you already have and monetize it as much as possible so you got an exit.
Fair. So another thing to keep in mind, and again, because we're TubeBuddy, we have a tool that can help called Kappa Center. So if you're having problems with Kappa, give it a shot. It is 100% free. However, this final question, I think that Daniel, Nick, and Dee will all love. What do you all use for your hair?
Love questions like that. Conditioner when you shave. Power tip, anybody that's thinking of shaving their head, use conditioner instead of using shaving cream, because it like moisturizes and it makes for such an amazing shave. Seriously, it makes for an amazing shave. Use conditioner. Feel it. It's conditioner. It really moisturizes and it feels amazing.
Yeah, so how many guys watching right now have traveled and you get to the hotel and you say, oh, I forgot my shaving cream?
We're stopping here right
Go
now.
right.
We gotta stop.
Go right to the bathroom, get their little free
You
thing
guys
of
need to start
conditioner.
a YouTube channel about your hair.
Yeah. Lack of hair.
Lack of hair, right?
And how you shave.
No.
No. It should be a channel about,
Beards for baldies. All
Yeah.
Hashtag
conditioner.
Beard for Baldies.
Conditioner.
But Daniel, what about you? What do you do for your hair?
Listen, there are some very important tools out there: a hair dryer, gel, hairspray. Throw them all out. Just throw them out. Hair Buddy. We have a new feature on TubeBuddy under the member perks.
I think I found our April Fool's joke. Give every avatar Daniel's hair.
Yeah, really. I wake up in the morning, I run to the shower, and then I keep going. And then whatever happens in between happens. It's very random.
But I think we've had a chance for everyone to speak. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on the largest successful group stream we've ever done. If you're out there watching, thank you. Links to everything we mentioned, including that PayPal, thanks, Nick, will be in the description down below, including their channels. Thank you, everyone. We hope you enjoyed this stream. TubeBuddies out.
Out.